Honorable Samuel Nati George, it seems that the center is refusing to hold in your party, from members of parliament through constituency executives. All of these say that they are not happy with the actions of your national party leadership. What is the problem?
Good evening to your listeners and good evening to you, Omar. The center is holding. The center is holding. It's to be expected that, given the news that broke yesterday, there will be this reaction. But let me be quick to express my appreciation or my respect. Respect is the word, for the Honorable Haruna Idrisu and the Honorable Muntaka Mubarak especially, who have managed the reactions from their constituencies. Because the reaction from Tamale and the reaction from Asawasi could have been a lot more explosive than it has been. And I think that they have played a role in managing the calls. Some of us who don't even come from there have received calls. And we've had to say, calm down, the party's taking a position. We're going to see how it goes, and we would come out stronger. So I'm excited that calm heads are beginning to prevail, and we can then proceed to look at the substantive issues properly and have a conversation around them.
Yesterday, when I spoke to your colleagues, a lot of them said they were not aware of this decision by the party. Were you consulted at the personal level?
Absolutely not. Who am I?
You are the Jata from Ningo-Prampram.
No. And Omar, let me be quick to add that is actually, for me, the crux of this conversation, or the crux of this whole issue that we're dealing with. The fact that there are two things here: consultation and engagement. I have heard people from the national executive from Adabraka. I've heard Adabraka say that they carried out consultations. They've mentioned names of people who they consulted and all of that. But we are the individuals who are being affected by the decisions that Adabraka has taken. Were we engaged? Absolutely not. The issues here border on what engagement happened with Parliament, the institution itself that will be affected by these decisions that were being taken. And that, for me, is where I believe that as a political party, we must begin to think hard and very seriously about. I remember in 2021, when this Parliament convened, there was an attempt to change leadership, and issues like this happened. But in that instance, there was consultation and engagement with the caucus. And based on the engagement, people were able to split their vein, their spleen, and state what their position was, and everybody was heard, and there was a consensus position. At that instance, we agreed as a caucus with the national executives over time that we needed to codify the processes for the election or selection of minority leadership. Because, yes, I agree with anyone who says that there is nowhere in our constitution that it says that MPs have to be consulted. But there is nowhere in our constitution where it says national executives will choose a leader for the minority caucus or for the parliamentary wing.
Your constitution does not say that?
It doesn't say that. Show me where in the constitution it says that national executives will choose. No. The constitution is silent on the election or selection of leaders. So it's convention that has been used. If convention is becoming problematic, then I think that this is a watershed moment for us, where as a party we have the opportunity to codify the processes.
But why is convention becoming a problem for the first time now?
Well, because this parliament is special. This is parliament. It's fine margins in this parliament. And you have an instance where the change is heavy. You're having a change. 60% of our leadership is being changed. And whether you like it or not, Muntaka Mubarak, I think, is the longest serving whip in the history of Ghana's parliament. 11 years. That's no joke. 11 years is a long time. And so his roots are deep in the caucus. Haruna Idrisu is an institution. Okay? James Kluchi-Aveji, former finance chair, currently public accounts chair, they have deep roots. You need to, I mean, a lot of people don't seem to be talking about Honorable Aveji because he's announced that he's not returning to the House. But when you have Haruna and Muntaka, these are not just mean people. However, nobody is untouchable in our party. That's another point you must quickly make. But all I hear anyone who has an issue raising is engagement. And I think that our national executives must accept and admit that yes, they may think that they have done consultation, but they needed to engage the parliamentary caucus. And that's why, for me, I think that we need to resolve this matter within the next 24 to 48 hours. By having a sit-down between the parliamentary caucus and Adabraka to listen to what members of parliament have to say. Members of parliament will always have our opinion. We had our opinions in 2017 when I was there. The last one was on the 4th of January, 2021. We had our opinion. Adabraka had his position and opinion. Those opinions and counter-opinions were espoused. But by the dint of engagement, a consensus position emerged. What you need for anyone who is leading the caucus is legitimacy. And legitimacy comes from consensus, that members of parliament have agreed that someone who came to the House just the way any of the 137 of us came should become a leader. Because don't forget, nobody had a special election to become a leader. We all had the same election. Some even had more votes than others. And so the point you make here is it is the consensus of everyone involved, be it extended leadership, regional caucus leadership, or some kind of engagement, or the caucus as a whole, to have a conversation and say, this is our position. I mean, the pain I hear from my colleagues, and even from myself, is that as a member of parliament, ahead of this reshuffle, thanks to a phone call from a radio station, Umaru, you called me, asking me about it. You understand me? And
that was the first time you heard about it.
Absolutely.
But the explanation is that if you are going to reshuffle, you have to shock the system. If you want to go and do consultations before reshuffling, you may end up failing to reshuffle since 2022 to 2023, like it's happening somewhere.
I have heard that argument, and it is a very logical argument to make, but it is not politically expedient, respectfully. Why do I say so? We are not saying that don't shock the system. Shock the system with the system. So call a meeting of the caucus. Meet with the caucus and break the news to the caucus. The caucus should not hear it on radio. I don't know if you get the point. It is about the engagement. Umaru, this reaction you are seeing would have been better managed if the MP's caucus was called, as we normally have meetings with our party executives, and the national chairman and general secretary meet us and say, this is a decision that has been arrived at based on consultations with the various stakeholders. Members will ask questions. Members will challenge it. You would defend it to members. And ultimately, we would reach an agreement as members of the NDC and as a caucus. Then when it breaks in the media, and Umaru calls Nilante like he did yesterday, Nilante would not tell you he was not aware of it and that it was a fake letter, only for you to confirm for him that, oh, this is the case. Or some judge will not hear it in the media, or like all my colleagues in the media. It is the shock factor of hearing it in the media and asking yourself, am I part of the system? And look, and that's what I'm saying, where we stand now, this has to be resolved in the next 24 to 48 hours. We have a council of elders, we've got the structures of the party. They need to find a way to bring Adabraka and the parliamentary caucus together. It is not about reversing of a decision or upholding of a decision. Because if you listen carefully, nobody has questioned the ability or capacity of any of the two sets of leadership, the outgoing or the incoming, or the proposed or current leadership. Nobody has questioned their ability to lead. Nobody has questioned Atu Force's ability to lead or Kwame Agboja's ability to whip. Nobody has done that. The problem people have has been the modus of the method of announcement and the lack of engagement. We must strike a middle ground as a party and move forward. Because, Umaru, it breaks my heart that you have called me and we are spending the first 30 minutes of your prime time news discussing a change in the NDC's leadership. At a time when Ghanaians are reeling and do not know what is the fate of their individual bonds under a debt exchange program. We are discussing this at a time less than 48 hours after we've been shocked by the kinds of revelations we've seen in the Auditor General's special audit on COVID-19 expenditure, an audit that this same minority demanded for and this same incompetent and insensitive government ran away from. And because they are going for an IMF program, the IMF has made it a condition for a program. They've done the audit. Look at the mess. That is what we should be discussing. But because we may not have been minded about the political time, the conversation now is about our front bench. Next week, the MPP will also most likely be changing their front bench. When President Akufo-Addo comes back, he served notice that he'll be meeting with the party and parliamentary leadership. They will most likely also change their front bench. People won't care about it. They care about the NDC because they see us as an alternative to the colossal mess, an alternative to the desperation in the system. And that is why, as a member of parliament, I think that the party must not lose sight of the fact that we're a government in waiting and that Ghanaians take us very seriously 2 years to an election where they are poised to vote overwhelmingly for our presumptive flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama. And we must be seen to carry all of our institutions together along this process.
Your national executives have failed you in this instance, you believe. Does it then mean that your new leaders in parliament do not have the legitimacy because you guys do not support them as yet?
It is not a question of whether they have legitimacy or not. It is a question of carrying people along. I know that they are making the proposed people, everybody is reaching out to everybody, everybody's talking to everybody. I mean, members of parliament are talking amongst ourselves. Today I swung by parliament, met a few of my colleagues. I mean, we are talking in these patches. That is not what fixes the problem. Whichever way, on the 7th of February when parliament reconvenes, we will need to have 5 people sitting in front of us and providing leadership. Whether it is the Atu-Forcing-led group or the Haruna-led group, they all need a certain kind of legitimacy. You think that if today we just say, oh, by wave of a wand, because there's agitation, reinstate Haruna and his team, you think that that is going to bring unity in the caucus? Atu-Forcing is a leader of a regional caucus, the Central Regional Caucus. He's a finance committee chair. He's got deep roots. Amabua is a leader of the Western Caucus. He's also a ranking member. Deep roots. Kwame Agboja is a ranking member and a leading member of the backbench. He's got deep roots. So you cannot just wish it away and say, oh, reinstate the status quo and think that then everybody will go along. You can also not just say that I'm proceeding because I have given a directive, it's a fiat. And so Haruna as an institution, 5-10 member of parliament, will not have people who will side with him. Or Muntaka, who's been there longest 7 weeks, will not have people supporting him and feeling aggrieved. So what you need to do is to bring everybody together, sit down, and show leadership.
Sure.
And that leadership is by having that engagement and say, look, we took this decision. Yes, we may not have gotten it 100% right, but this is the party's position. We're all party boys. And make sure you manage everybody because you need every single person. Muntaka brings a certain leverage from the Ashanti region for the NDC. Haruna is synonymous with Tamale. You can't run away from this fact. Atu-Forcing as caucus leader moved us from 4 seats to 13 seats in the Central region. You cannot discount what they do. Boa doesn't only hold Elembele, but in the Western region and even parts of the Western North. You cannot discount that. Kwame Agboja is an institution in parliament itself. So what you have right now is a team of Galacticos and a coach who can only field 5, but has 10 superstars. How do you manage it? You have to explain to the person who is going to be on the bench, why he has to be on the bench and why somebody has to lead. It falls on the court to show leadership. And here it's my call to our national chairman, our general secretary, and our council of elders. I have absolute trust in their ability. I mean, I have no doubt people have called me a Haruna boy. People have called me an Asedu Nketia boy. I don't care what you call me.
Are you though? Are you though?
Sorry?
Are you?
I am always loyal to my leadership in the party. Okay. And so yes, when you call me Haruna or Muntaka boy, absolutely, I will not run away from it. When the party takes a decision and the dust settles and we decide who leads us, you would end up calling me that person's boy as well, because I would serve that person, not because of that person, but because of the party. Today, Asedu Nketia leads our party. I will not question his authority, but I will call him to think about the collective and ensure. I campaigned openly for General Asedu Nketia in the last election. It's not a secret. I campaigned for Fifi. It's not a secret. So these are people I campaign for and I support. But I think that right now, they need to show a certain level of leadership.
Very well.
To say that the caucus in Parliament, look, Omaro, last point I'll make, even senior high schools, the headmaster no longer sits in his office and appoints head boy. An election is held. Manifestos are read. This is a caucus of members of Parliament who are elected to serve and represent their people. In Adapata have taken the decision. They say they have consulted. We hear. Engage the caucus. Engage us. Council of Elders. Engage us. Bring whoever and wherever to one room and let us sit down and fashion the way out. 48 hours maximum. We need to come back to the rot. The fact that people paid for over 15 million Ghana cedis, Umaru, for life insurance policy when there was no policy document. The fact that someone went and leased uncompleted buildings for 15 million Ghana cedis in Adaplu as a COVID isolation center. Even China, where COVID started, they didn't build isolation center for 25 years. We went and leased it and paid money up front for 4 million Ghana cedis for no work done. Equipment were bought in hundreds of thousands of dollars and handed over to people supposed to go to hospitals that never got there. This is the rot we must be focusing on. This is the reason why we are in a mess now, and poor pensioners are being told that they have to go to 2052 for their pensions to be restored to them. This is what we must be focusing on as a country.
Thank you.
The rot of the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration.
Thank you.